All right, let's hope this time it works. I will wait a little bit now before I get confirmation. Maybe that's something I should do every time, but seems to be working fine for me. So please let me know if you can see and hear me, and then I will continue. See everything. All right, nice. It works now. Uh, all right, guys. Oh man, I was streaming to myself for 15 minutes or 10 minutes. 10 minutes I was streaming to myself, but I shall repeat myself. Sorry, guys, I don't know what happened. It seems like I started the stream and it immediately quit. So my YouTube stream is 1 second long. So I don't know what happened, but yeah, like Ed says, it's data scientist, but when it comes to streams, it's not much, guys. All right, back into it. Let me rewind in my brain. I was on a roll, if I may say so myself, but you shall never know because it's not recorded and lost into oblivion. But let's see what's going on. So right now we have that P1 on Monday, we have that P2 on Wednesday, and the the bias has been since we took out this Monday low, the vibe has been for lower, and one of the main point of interest we were looking at is this fair value gap right here, and we're gonna break that down. So first of all, why was the bias for lower? Short recap is because we had that Monday P1 and then the Wednesday P2. Now, if we go to the statistics here, and this is statistics for 5 years, but still, then we see that Monday, if you have time adjusted mode, is very high likely pivot, right? But we know that. But if you look on the right, I mean, just this year, Monday has been something else. Nelson, what a guy, Nelson, what a guy. But so here is Monday. These P2s have been, really, or P2s, P1s have been really taking off. And it's just been a very, very, very strong pivot, right? I mean, look at this. This is insane. The last 30 weeks, 86.2% of Mondays have a P1 or of put in a P1 for the week. So that's not something you want to bet against. So as soon as you took out this Monday low right here, that means you had at the Tuesday open, you had a Tuesday low and a Monday high. Therefore, lower makes more sense. It just this whole year, this has been the safe bet. So it makes sense to keep betting on that until the trend changes. And so far, we have not seen uh, any evidence for that. In fact, if you go to the distance statistics, it is like easily viewable that if you look here, then you can just see when the P1s were put in, and low and behold, Monday, 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 Tuesday, Monday, Monday. I mean, and so on and so on. I've gone over this before, so it's very high probability, right? We all know this. I won't go into it too much because you're well familiar with that. So going forward now, the question is, okay, we front run this fair value gap, and we are now going up, and we bounce from a naked daily point of control. So the question is, okay, are we front running it, and are we going to go higher, or is this just bouncing towards that lower high and then going down in there? And I saw Tim. I see you're saying it now, Tim. I saw him posting it in the Discord as well. Tim is looking for a lower high, I think. We also made note to go not a good lower high for this week. So today's something high to put in the high low for the lower low, or the lower high for the lower low. You mean? So something like this, I believe, is what you're saying. So let's go over those scenarios. Basically, there's three. Like what I like to do in these cases is go over. Okay, what are the different scenarios in play, and what is the most likely scenario? It is the last Friday of the month, so I do believe there are. That's the thing. I want to look into that. There's put options and call options that expire tomorrow, and apparently I read that there's a shit ton here and a shit ton here. So then the theory would be okay. Usually you stay in between those. So let's see. What I want to do is actually check what the data is for the last week of the month. I can actually quite easily do that, but I don't have that right now. So we're going to go off what we have. As we know, we cannot know everything. There's three scenarios. There's this scenario, right? The midweek reversal like that. Then there is the scenario where this would happen. And then finally, there is the scenario which Tim is discussing is something like this. So which one is the most likely? We are going to discuss that now. First of all, naked daily point controls are significant levels, right? I like naked daily point controls. They're definitely levels I uh, am looking for, and usually not levels I like to trade against. But we already know that P2 is a very terrible P2 because Wednesday, not only does it not happen a lot, time adjusted, we right now have it at 12%, but it has not happened recently either. 25 weeks until Wednesday has been in P2. So that doesn't leave for a lot of room for Wednesday to be P2. And we're talking about now this scenario, or at least, so this is this scenario playing out, right? What is the answer to that? It doesn't seem all that likely. We can go a little bit further than that, and we can look at distance statistics. So one thing I'd like to do in these kind of situations is go into this part of the dashboard. Then see, right now we have a distance of negative 6.3% from high to low. So what we're looking at is right here. Let me get that. Negative 6.3%. Guys, I must say, man, I'm really liking this white chart. I cannot believe I'm saying it. Initially, I was just like, it's a little bit more clear, and I'm just going to switch to white. But for myself, I will switch to black when I'm not streaming or posting. But I must say, man, I got converted to the white spot. Shout out to Tim and Lars, our white charters. But anyway, I digress. So we have that 6.3% negative displacement. So what we can do is kind of like get these 3 bars right there. And so what is happening now is on the right, so first of all, obviously we have the main statistic, which is saying that 84% of weeks see more displacement than we have right now. So if the week will remain bearish, if the weekly high will hold, 84% of weeks will see more displacement than what we have now. Now, what we see here is that what I'm kind of interested in, that in this range, which started in March, so May 27 and June 17, we only had 2 weeks that were more or less this little distance, right? Only 2 weeks in this whole March range. And we can check when this was. We see June 17 and May 27, so we can mark those out. June 17, this one right here. And May 27. And May 27. Believe it or not, but these are the only 2 weekly candles that have this little distance in between the high and the low. There is some a little bit close to it. If I would, for example, take this one as well, I can already see where they are. June 10 and April 22, so not actually only 2 more. June 10. Actually, yeah, there's really not a lot. So this is being a little bit more. Oh, wow. It's actually all in the same vicinity. And April 22. So not this one, this one. So if you take it a little bit conservative, these are the weeks in this whole range that we've been in for half a year that saw this little volatility, So it seems very unlikely, at least statistically speaking, that we're going to be this compressed. Let me check one thing though. It's 22nd of April, 27th of May, 10th of June, 17th of June. Okay, not that. So it seems very unreasonable that let me check what Tim is. Don't think this will happen, man, because this weekly candle took out previous weekly high and looks like a better pivot than the 2 you just marked out. Yeah, I'm only looking at just plainly how far is the displacement usually. What you're saying is, yeah, I don't think it will be this small. I'm guessing. I tend to agree because you're right. This one looks a lot better. So, but I'm just pointing out that it's very unlikely that, at least from this point of view, that a weekly candle is this compressed. So, judging by that, I mean, we have more or less a 15% chance from both a distance perspective as well as a time perspective that this scenario will place out. That this scenario will place out where you do nothing and this is a weekly high and this is a weekly low, right? Because let me recap, we have 84% of weeks that see more distance than we have right now. And in terms of time-based statistics, we have time adjusted a chance of 12% out of my mind. Yeah, 12% that it will hold. So both are pretty much on the same edge. And if you look at recently, it's only 10%. So, very low probability this happening. This would be the lowest probability scenario. So probably this is not going to happen. Then the next question is, are we going to take out the high or are we going to take out the low? Now, the other scenario, obviously, it would be this one, right? Taking out the high. But we have already seen that the weekly high is very strong, right? It's a Monday. And besides that, not only is it a Monday, we also see, that, and Mondays are very strong recently. We also see that this metric right here, our beloved metric over there, is at 22.4%, which means that we more or less have a 22.4% probability of putting in a weekly, historical probability of putting in a weekly low this far below the weekly open before reversing and taking that out. So that's in terms of distance statistics. And then in terms of time-based statistics, let me check. Time-based statistics, there is 15.8% there, but it's been happening a little bit less too. And it's been 10 weeks, which is not too significant, but yeah, you can see here that a P1 on Wednesday, it's been a while, right? But not as popular. So, I mean, if you look at, someone asked me this, what are the chances of a midweek reversal in 24? We can easily do that. We can go to the start of 24. Give me a second. Let me move that right there. So time adjusted. Then we can see at the start of 24 a midweek reversal with a P1 being on Monday or Tuesday. Well, especially Wednesday is 2.4%. So it really hasn't happened. Of course, you don't have a lot of data, so this is not something I want to create ultra big conclusions on. But this year, the trend is clear. Monday's king, and the rest is shit. So Tuesday, you have to imagine that Tuesday and Monday together is already 90% this year. So this year, 90% of P1s were on Monday and Tuesday. And right now we have the P2 on Wednesday. A midweek reversal, as in that Wednesday puts in the low and then shoots up, this year has been 2.4%. But even if you look at the last, 3 years or so, even then it is not a very high probability event, because even then we see 14%. So it's not the highest of probabilities, right? So what we have, it is a little bit higher than this scenario. So this scenario, lowest probability. This scenario, slightly higher probability, but still lower probability, purely statistically speaking from distance stats and time stats. And then the final scenario is obviously taking out the low once again, which in this case is the highest probability scenario because of all the statistics I just mentioned, right? We have Monday P1, we have P2 Wednesday, which is low probability both in terms of time, and the distance statistics are indicating that there's only like a 14% chance. So if this one is likely to hold, which it does seem from this year that it's likely to hold, then it also seems that this is very unlikely to hold because there's only such a compressed week doesn't happen a lot. We are also in quite volatile areas at the moment. I do believe there is news today or tomorrow, Tim, I think you know. So, it seems very unlikely that the distance will hold. So the given is this, or that this will be the contraction. If P1 holds, then lower seems very likely. So if P1 holds, lower is much more likely than this. And even, if you disregard P1 holding and just say, well, if you remove that assumption, and even then still P1 holding is still the most likely, followed by a move lower. So The one hesitation I would have against it, being advocate of the devil, so to say, is that obviously we are in this. Let me check that. We are in this range. Okay, 1 hour we have PMI data. We're in this range, so one could say, okay, well, we just had this step from the value area low, below it, the deviation into the naked point of control, broke some local market structure, and now we're moving up. And I would completely agree with that, which is why at this point in time, I would personally do nothing. I think also that's in accordance with Tim's plan. Tim, I'm actually gonna check out, whoop, check out your plan right there. See where Tim has his point of it. I'm personally, you're in the middle of this point of control right now. So either way, there's it's not something I'm ignoring, right? You have to, and ideally you would have statistics and the TA line up. In this case, we just came from naked daily point of control, bounce back into the very area. Obviously, today is Thursday. Tomorrow is the most popular day to put in the low, right? We know this. Friday has been putting in a lot of lows or a lot of P2s. So something we want to wait for. Let me. No, it sounds good. Oh, now it's fine again. I don't know what's happening, guys, but okay, it's working, right? All right, it's back. Thank you, Auke. Oh, it's notifying me. All right, so obviously this is personally not a place where like in the middle of a point of control area is not where you want to enter a big short, in my opinion. What I would wait for is a little bit higher. If you take out some, because let me go back to that view right here, because obviously we do have a lot of liquidity. There's basically two options though I'm looking at. First option, and this is something I've noticed that happens quite a lot, is so you have this range that we're in, and then we have this mini range that we're in right well. So this is more going to go into the qualitative side of things rather than the quantitative side of things, but we still need to apply some TA. So we have this range that we're in, and we see here basically just a bunch of lower highs so far. So what I do see happening quite often in a range like this, when the main, like kind of the trend here is down, is that you kind of just keep on making these lower highs, and at some point you just roll over and go lower. So this is one possibility I'm looking at, but not something I would bank on. Obviously, the invalidation is taking out this one right here, but a lot of people are obviously banking on that, so it's risky. But I do see this happening. The other option, which is a more safer option and a more sensible option, in my opinion, is to wait for the liquidity at the highs to be taken out, and then wait for confirmation and short it there. Because say that there's no confirmation before the short, that and say we have because this cannot it's not that this cannot happen, right, that we take out the weekly high, but it is for sure very improbable. So it's not something I would personally bet on. If anything, you'd rather wait for more confirmation and then have a move closer to there before you start longing it. But for now, it is very much a lower probability event, and we've seen how low probability it is, right? It's like 10%, maybe, if you look at the last couple of years. So what I was going to do was check out Tim's post, because Tim is the master of TA. Because I am guessing you are looking at some, and I didn't read your post. Tim, two zones. Let me open that. So these are Tim zones. This one and this one. Yeah, so this one I really like. This one, if it comes here, I mean, we will have to see tomorrow, I guess. But if it comes here, I don't think we'll. Yeah, it might be a short opportunity, but I don't think we would be taking out the weekly low this week again. Then I would say it becomes a lot more improbable to take it out. Obviously, depending on when we do it, right? If the news drops in an hour and we do something like this, I mean, then it's plausible. But if, for example, we grind up like this and tomorrow somewhere we tap this, I mean, maybe, maybe, but you wouldn't want it to happen too late. That's all I'm saying. But if we get, that lower one, which time frame is this? The 1 hour. Let me map it out. Shout out to Tim. So this one is pretty neat. So, say you tap into this on the news or something, and after that you get that lower time frame break of structure, for which I'm looking at Tim. That's a very interesting one because you're right above the very area high. You're still like pretty close towards the weekly low, and let's see what kind of FIB level that's at. It's around the golden pocket. Yeah, more or less just above the golden pocket. So yeah, this one is definitely an interesting zone to look into. Basically, just taking out this upper liquidity. And if personally, if we go higher than that towards here, then that definitely could give a reaction. But I think at that point in time, you're so close to the Monday high that it's unlikely that you're going to take out the weekly low. But obviously, we can react. So let's just see if and when it happens. But this is definitely the first zone I'm looking at. So if we want to take out the weekly high, this would be the most sensible, the weekly low, sorry, this would be the most sensible place to do it from. The other option I'm looking at is most definitely, something I'm taking into account is just a rollover if we cannot manage to, break this one right here, that it's just this ultimate weakness showing in the charts and then you just roll over. But just because that's a possibility, I personally wouldn't bang my bets on because you also know that a lot of people will be thinking this. But sometimes when you have weakness in the chart, that's the way it happens. But yeah, I wouldn't bet on it. I would wait for that one right there. Let's see what Tim said. Sound is gone. It's back. What is happening to my sound, guys? I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry. Tim, if you have time, check last week Thursday. We had P1 low on Mondays. Bitcoin was already far away. Many alts came on Thursday, almost at the P1 Monday low, but all held and bounced. Check. Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true. We had also had the polka dot long that also came really close to P1. Yeah, no, it's definitely possible. Definitely possible. But I would want to see us go there today, right? Today. If it would happen tomorrow, I think it would be too late. But today, if we had tapped this one today, then it might be worth a short confirmation. If it happens tomorrow, then yeah, I'm personally not so sure. Of course, it's still a short with confirmations, but you're absolutely right. Last week we had a lot of those setups actually on altcoins. Where how is that now? Actually, do we have like something similar going on? Because last week we had the situation where Bitcoin was pretty. Yeah, it would be a great RR either way. I'm not saying there cannot be a short. I'm just saying like I would be more hesitant to say that the short's gonna break the weekly low this week. Doesn't mean it cannot happen next week. Uh, 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 um. So right now, yeah, okay. So right now we don't really have. I mean, we have some great setups on the weekly at the moment for lower. I mean, you can just look at the multi-time frame page, and you probably just see a sea of red on the weekly. Da-da-da-dun. Waiting for this thing to show up. Yeah, so a sea of red on the weekly, except for TRX. Shout out to TRX. But all of the, like, there's a lot of like pretty strongly bearish plays for the weekly. So that's not something you would generally want to bet against. And they're all still pretty close to their lows. So that's the thing I want to look at, because last week we had Bitcoin at the highs and all the alts at the lows. So in this case, I'm looking at if we would have the opposite situation. We actually do. We have the opposite, where Bitcoin is more or less. Um, well, no, it's kind of the same thing. Bitcoin is holding stronger, right? Bitcoin is at that 0.5, while the alts are at the lows. So this is obviously Bitcoin is outperforming the rest of the market. But I mean, here look at. I mean, look at all these. IMX, 11% chance of taking out the high, 73% for the placement. ETC, 12.3 over 81.3. RSR, 12.8 over 84.7. I mean, those are some crazy statistics, and we can go over those a little bit more. I'm just spending a lot of time because Bitcoin is king, and if Bitcoin goes down, the rest will follow. But if you're judging it purely from this, and the one asset on the top, uni is bullish, but has had a big retracement so far. I personally wouldn't bet in favor of that, simply because everything else is pointing down, and there's only so much. Everything would have to flip. It happens, but it's not the most likely scenario. Let me check this one, if any of these are really low. We already made some lows again today on other altcoins, indicating further weakness. The sand, for example, is also 25 weeks no P1 on Wednesday, 30 weeks no P2. There's 20% here. I mean, there's definitely better setups, but so everything is kind of like pointing down on that aspect. So okay, so the conclusion of Bitcoin is that statistically lower is the most likely option. If we're looking at statistics we are having. The counter argument against that is that we jumped from this naked daily point of control and we bounced up after deviating from this smaller range, but also this higher range right here. So the argument could be that we're going to see a move to look at that. This supply right here is also at the very area high. Interesting. So that's actually a nice one, nice confluence. But so, that's the counter argument, which is why I personally, would not short this right here. I would wait for higher. And the beauty of it is that you can wait here for a confirmation, and we have confirmation King Tim in the group. And if we don't get confirmation right here, then price will just simply edge up higher, and we can just let our idea be invalidated by the market itself. So say the unlikely event happens as such. If there's no confirmations here, say for example you slice just through it, we can just wait and see if it actually happens like this. And the reason I would have been more aggressive with taking a short anywhere here if I were to be trading it, if we did not bounce from a naked daily point of control the way we did, right? Because from a TA perspective, yes, this is something we need to take into account. Naked daily point of controls are pretty OP, very strong levels. I'm actually trying to gather data on them. Going to be difficult, going to make it happen, but you need tick data, and it's quite a challenge. My current API provider doesn't support it, but whatever, technical things, we got that done later on. But so, you got to take context into account. And even though statistics are very, very much in favor of downside, I cannot ignore the naked daily point of control and the deviation of range lows. But at the same time, I personally would not long this aiming for new weekly highs. It's definitely a long. Would I long for weekly highs? Probably not. So if this would play out, say this would play out, then this would be a great example of, how statistics can keep you out of trades. So say, for example, a long, or manage them properly. So for example, say you enter the long here, probably a lot of people are going to be targeting the weekly highs because people are greedy. But we have statistics, and even if we're in this long, we can probably be sensible enough to say, okay, that might happen. But if we look at this year, that's pretty improbable, at least for now. So maybe be a little bit more aggressive with taking profits, right? So Is it the ideal setup for statistics and TA? No, because I do think the TA is, at least for now, this is pretty significant. For now, it's looking a little bit higher, except for if we cannot take this high right here, then we might just roll over. But there's some contradicting signs, so wait for confirmation on that one. So that's it for Bitcoin. But if I would have gone to the head, where's Bitcoin going? I mean, statistically, it's just more likely that it will go lower, and that our main point of interest, that fair value gap right here, would be hit this week. So that's it for Bitcoin. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm assuming this is clear. Now let us check what are some other assets. Let me clear this up and clear this up. I'm just checking if I see some fair value gaps. Ah, yeah, I see one right here. Very small one. Yeah, so that's a nice extra little confluence. Fill that, tap that supply above it, go down. That's the plan. This. All right. Moving on. Because we now spent a lot of time on the weekly time frame, which makes sense because it is Thursday, and this is the time you want to be looking at the weekly time frame. So I personally maintain the rule that I don't look at statistics until at least half of the time. We're halfway into the time frame. So on the daily, that means I don't look until midday, and for the weekly, that means I don't look until Wednesday later in the day / Thursday morning. Right? That's where I really want to see. Okay, what is the weekly saying? I just think that's personally the best bet. But now let's look at the daily time frame, which could give us a little bit more ideas of how likely it is that price is going to go higher towards this. So right now we have the P1 at hour 0 and the P2 at hour 1. We had some displacement. Let's see how much displacement we had. And I saw from Ed that we actually have a lot. Let me check that. So if we press P1 on hour 0 right here, I need to do that. I think Ed said we had 9 days in a row where P1 was hour 0. What I could do is kind of bring this one down to 20-day moving average. Yeah, so, actually, I love the 35-day. But yeah, this one's more sensitive to recent changes. So you can see that P1 on hour 0 has been happening a lot lately, apparently 9 days in a row. And we now have P1 at hour 0. We know that P1 hour 0 is the best pivot. And it seems to be happening a lot at the moment. That trend's going to change. It is seasonal. You just have moments where this seems to be happening a lot, where Asia Open just puts in all of them. But right now we're in one of those. So that's another indicator that you probably don't want to bet against this one. Although I don't think it looks like the strongest pivot there is, but it is indicating a slight bias towards more upside for the day. So you don't want to get into, another reason not to take a short from here. Well, we're definitely going to see more distance, right? 95%. And let me check which filter mode do I have on. Hybrid. Makes sense. Put it on a hybrid. 28% of days would see a flip from here, right? Where we would do this. I do think you want to take a look at this one, though. The only other scenario I would see is this SFE and then this happening. But once again, I'm saying this, I wouldn't short it. But if we just front run this out, I just think you don't like for this to work. You really don't want to take this. But yeah, again, I wouldn't take it. But so the daily is also indicating slight bias for the upside. So also no reason to jump into short based on those statistics. So a little bit higher seems to be coming today. So that is further confirmation. And oh, why did I delete this thing? Further confirmation that waiting a little bit longer for higher would be a smart move. So that is Bitcoin for today. Higher it is. Let's check the summary page. There she goes already. Bullish, 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 bullish. This is on hybrid though. And you get the high probability ones. All right, so all the high probability ones are also saying bullish. This is on a hybrid. Conservative, these are the ones. But since P1 has been so strong on hour zero, might not be a weird idea. So, but anyway, there's not really any setups here at the moment that I would take anyway. It's more like looking for the bias. So in this case, it's more like, okay, we're waiting for a little bit higher and waiting for a potential short opportunity to come around. But the thing is that at this point in time, we there's no retracements here, like the 231, 191, 197. I mean, 231 is kind of 662, but this is not something I would do. Before New York Open, already to the 662, a small move down. Like this for me is just indicating that there's more weakness in this asset, and I would, I mean, you could choose to do it. Plus, it is only 21% on a hybrid. So 1 out of 5 days, it's very fair to say, 1 out of 5 days we would take out the low, and we already made it quite a stretch. Which one is that? GLM. Let me check what GLM just looks like from PA perspective. Oh, damn. Whew. I mean, great RR, but yeah, I mean, wow. And it might make it 45 to 106. Yeah, no, it's not bad actually in terms of those statistics. But yeah, I personally would not go for this just purely from the statistical point of view. Oh, we just front run that. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that I would rather have the assets that would around this time be at, 0.5, zero point 0.4, definitely not 0.99, which this one was. Yeah, you could do some further research, but I don't think I'd personally dare dive into that. So that this one I would ignore. I would want to see more the ones that are a little bit higher up around this time. Then there is, oh yeah, so the other ones are all indicating the same thing as Bitcoin, that the high is likely. So for example, sushi, now the 231, only 8.8% of days would take out the daily low after moving 5% up, and 72% of days would move higher. So we take sushi, for example, and then we look at this one right here, we see uh, 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 76. All right, so this is something you want to see, right? Hour 9, 7.1%, not a very popular P1. It also has been 71 days since that has been put in, but again, there's not really a place to long from at the moment. Is my personal opinion. So once again, it's the same thing. You kind of want to do this more for a directional bias for now. So this one's also saying light higher is slightly more probable for the day. It's not too convincing today, so that's maybe also a reason why I wouldn't take any mega longs based on this. Also because of the location where we are, the context, the fact that the weekly is still down and there's a couple of more days to go within the week. But so far, it is painting the picture that a little bit higher seems to be the play market-wide today, Bitcoin is leading the race. It is stronger. You can also see that from Bitcoin dominance that just keeps on crawling up endlessly. I mean, just assume this will just keep going higher until it doesn't. That's my opinion. You know, even I've I think I've seen people call the top on this for months now. Same with like the bottom on Eat Bitcoin. I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon. So just assume this one will keep going up until it doesn't. That seems to be the best bet. But so to summarize, I personally would not take any longs or shorts right now because we're pretty much in no man's land. I wouldn't take longs do seem more likely for the day, but given the location and the context, I personally wouldn't take the long. Also because there's no retracement. If there was a good retracement, probably I would do it, but I don't think there's a good setup right now. But it is giving us the information that hey, higher seems more likely today. We also know that lower seems more likely for the week. So that means that we can be patient, wait a little bit, and half price give us that higher point and see if it can give us a short position from there. And the first position we're looking at is right here. And obviously alts, you know, it's worth looking into alts once we reach this position. So it's this one, and then Tim is also looking at this one right here. Personally, if we reach this one today, I could look at that for short, but preferably this one, I think would be better. But let's see. We have to take what the market gives us, right? Because once again, yes, we can definitely take out that weekly high. I mean, if it's ever going to happen, it is going to come from a naked daily point of control. Plus, we are in a quite strong uptrend, and we took some liquidity. So, you know, I don't think it's impossible at all. But we also know that it's the less likely play. So personally, I wouldn't go for it. But each their own, obviously. You know, you might say, well, fuck it, I'm going to go for it anyway. So the whole moral is higher for at least today seems likely, lower for the week seems likely as well. So we wait for a little bit higher, and then we see if we get confirmations. If we don't get confirmations and price keeps edging up higher, and we are going to get that low probability event, then we can simply let the markets tell us that low probability event is going to happen. Because if it doesn't give us confirmation, no short, and at some point, you know, the high will get taken out, and we will know. All right, Auke, what's your take on Sui with a retrace of 0.44 before the New York Open? Yeah, 4.4 is fine. I haven't looked at it, but 4.4 is fine. Yeah, actually really nice. I mean, it's 24%, so 1 out of 4 days you take out the low. Uh, not the biggest, the best. Hour 6, not the best. As in, not the most probable to become P1, so that's good. Oh, yeah, but we had the same thing here. That retrace close to, so right now it's at 0.44, but we did go that low. But then again, you know, you're seeing some strength already. Hmm. Naked daily point of controls. Tim is looking for a 210 short. Oh, yeah, I need to change all the colors on my levels right there. So the 4.4 is not bad for me. It's just that we did go all the way down to really close to that low, but we're already bouncing up. Yeah, let me just. Let me remove that, get it back. Personally, it's not my favorite. I just prefer to see it not lose too many. Like this for me, it's indicating a little bit of weakness in there if we reach that close. So personally, I prefer not to see that. But if it would have been at 4, like around 5, and not have gone deeper, then fine for me. But yeah, this is something that now there's even more liquidity down here. Not my favorite, to be honest. Not my favorite. So once again, the only other scenario I do want to emphasize is like I do think there is a possibility that price will just hover here and maybe like front run this and then just go down. There is a possibility. And once again, I want to emphasize possibility. I wouldn't short that, but this is a scenario I'm looking at. So given that the lower prices seem to be likely, either this into that beautiful fair value gap we've been waiting for, or the other option is this, right? Those are the scenarios I'm looking at. So guys, I think I want to leave it at that. It's just a waiting game right now. There's not much else to say about it. We just have to wait. We just have to wait for hopefully a little bit lower. I do think the news is going to drop in a bit. So hopefully we're gonna, or sorry, wait for a little bit higher. But the news is going to drop in a bit. So hopefully we will get a little bit push up into this zone, and then maybe we get a short trigger. But let's wait for that. So for now, I want to thank you. I think I've repeated myself and summarized myself enough. You know my bias. Statistically, just most likely to go lower for the week. Doesn't mean we cannot break the high, but statistically, it's more likely to go lower. So let's wait for that. We'll see how it plays out, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you on the next stream, and I'll see you on in the Discord, obviously. All right, guys.